Okay, this is the one time of year where a non-select board member calls the meeting to order, so I'm calling the meeting to order at 6:30 PM. And the first item on the agenda is the election of the select board chair and vice chair.
I'd like to nominate Gabby for chair.
That's really sweet, Dick. Thank you. I am actually going to have to respectfully decline because I actually don't think I can handle it time-wise with my job. But I really appreciate it and your vote of confidence, Dick. So thank you.
I'd like to make a motion that we nominate Sheila Morris as chair.
Second.
Is there a second? You seconded, great. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carried.
Is there a nomination for vice chair?
I'd like to nominate Troy for vice chair.
I second. Is there any oh yeah, it's my turn now. I'm done. Is there any discussion?
Do I get any say in this?
You do. You do.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. Like to recognize the public, Ian Peel, Shaun Murphy, and Barry Aleshnik. Nice to have you here. I will just mention that in the last several meetings, we've had circulating with the agenda and the list of attendees, the select board rules of procedure regarding our meeting, the process of the meeting, and if you have any questions, feel free to look. It's also online on the Guilford, Vermont website. Are there any new additions to the agenda for this evening? No.
None.
Changes to the agenda order for this evening?
I'm sorry, I did call Katie earlier about a new addition to the agenda, but I don't want to do it if it's going to be disruptive.
It was under a discussion and updates, him to share some information about Act 46.
That is correct.
If you wanted to entertain that tonight, or
So
I would make it brief.
Yeah, Shaun, I'm just gonna say that we have a long agenda before we get to discussion and updates, so just be prepared. I think we can allow a few minutes for it. The practice is to have agenda items into Katie on Wednesday afternoon so that we can post them and adequately warn them on Thursday when we post the meeting, so.
Yes, no, that's what I would do.
Okay, well, thank you.
Yes or no, it's fine.
The next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes of February 22nd, 2016.
so moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried, thank you.
Does Gordon have to abstain?
Yes.
He does, yes, he does
Because I
have
wasn't here.
So we have a new practice that Troy, the person sitting to Katie's left, will pass the documents that need to be signed and collect them so that we know that all the things are signed appropriately and that she's got them in hand after the meeting.
Thank you.
The old business, Jeremiah, you are up to discuss the reappraisal, contract for services, budget, and process. And maybe you want to
Yeah, I can
get up so that everybody,
like move over here, or sit, or stand.
I don't know. Ian,
Wherever,
what would you
wherever
like?
the camera can get you.
That's my job.
So last time, it was about a month ago, we came to the board and we got approval from the select board to negotiate a contract with ARGI for the reappraisal. We had, and the select board, asked us to negotiate a contract. So I should have provided for the select board, documentation supporting what he proposed for a budget, and the listers will be working alongside the ARGI during the reappraisal for 2017. I guess I didn't total up the, well, the total project cost was estimated at $97,771. That's with ARGIs and with the listers estimated. The listers would break out as about 34,000. And then we gave the best we could do for hours as far as, you know, what we think it's gonna cost for, you know, inspections, data collection, prep time, education, and that type of thing. But we contacted several other towns, and we went Londonderry and Randolph, and no one's really broken out like the reappraisal as far as budgeting how much they project. They just kind of go, it's just a fund, you know, the reappraisal is just a fund, and not many people have, you know, broken it out as far as how much they think it's going to cost.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, that's kind of,
So I thought that was a really good process that you, the
Yeah,
listers, and I think also Katie went through just to try to create a budget that would estimate the hours of the listers and the process and the different stages and accountability at different steps of the way.
yeah, Katie was a tremendous help in getting us especially with employee taxes and all that, you know, I just put in an hourly rate for things, and, you know, some of the stuff I don't think about, not in payroll. So I guess that's kind of our outline and our projection. I mean, we have enough money in the budget to cover that.
Right, how much was in the reserve budget for the appraisal? Over 120?
Over 50.
Well, 156, I want to say, and that doesn't include this year's contribution, which would be about, what, 13 maybe? Or 10, 10.
Yeah,
10.
it's
5.
850 a parcel, and there's
It's like-
roughly 1,300 parcels.
Yeah.
Is what we're looking at right now.
It's in the
so,
window of 10,500 each year that we get. currently.
um,
So there's more than that.
That money has been building up over a period of,
Right. The last reappraisal was 2005, and I don't have the numbers on how much that I should have. That's one thing I neglected to, you know, grab, was how much the last reappraisal cost the town. I don't know if that
You can find that out easily enough.
that would be relevant.
But this, if I remember correctly, this budget is about 50% of what we have in the reserve fund, right? 65 or a little bit more than that, but not a lot more than that.
Yeah.
So,
I think it falls within that. I just kind of, you know, want to make sure. I've been through reappraisal in Brattleboro. Us deciding to go with the same software, I think, kind of takes out some of those unknowns that could potentially pop up, because we're not switching to a new program and, you know, and converting data. Everyone kind of indicates that that's no big deal, but now I know it's not a big deal if we stick with the ProVal software we're using, because there's no changeover. We didn't see enough advantages to switching the software. So that's kind of where we stood with that.
And I thought that the contract looked totally reasonable. It was on budget as to what I thought we had talked about previously. And I thought the terms made complete sense, and there's a firm deadline with penalties if they don't meet that deadline, which I think is,
Yeah, and
all
there's
seems like it's good
built
for
into the
us.
contract as well as the number of inspections that the listers perform will be reduced out of the proposal. So that's, you know, we're getting credit for the work that we do,
Right.
which the other firms don't really. They just gave us a contract price and they said this is what it's going to cost to do the reappraisal. But we look at it as an opportunity to train the board to be able to do inspections, and then we're going to have to support and defend values once the appraisal company's done doing their work. So, yeah.
did everybody here get a chance to read the contract and the budget and stuff like that? Because I wanted to say thank you to Lisa and Jeremiah and everybody for
Shaun.
doing such a great job on the contract. I think it was kind of unique that the contractee had to do the contract. And I think you did a great job on it.
Thank you.
So thank you. And I thought the budget looked well constructed. Thank you, Katie, working with everybody. Is there any discussion about this? Do you have anything else you want to contribute to?
These, out of all those companies, these were the ones that actually presented the best.
Well, Shaun can speak to, maybe, I don't know if you want to, but we sent out RFPs to all the list of the approved firms. You know, we kind of went through the whole spectrum. We're like, we're gonna give everyone a shot and see what everyone wants to do and what they'll propose. And so we got, is it 6 or 5?
8.
8?
Well, we sent out 8, and I
Got
think we
6
got
back,
a
right?
response of 6, yeah.
Yeah.
And, yeah, I thought it was really well done. There were a lot of people that didn't have the time, didn't have the interest, for one reason or another, so I felt like we did due diligence to.
Oh, absolutely.
We got the firm, and Lisa has worked in 2005, so there was familiarity, and he's done other nice things for the town. He's helped us with software, and so, yeah.
Do you know roughly how much it was for the last reappraisal? I know that's kind of like throwing you on
Yeah,
the spot.
unfortunately, that I have absolutely no idea because that was when I was just coming in. I came on in 2005 when we were doing the last reappraisal.
You don't have any recollection of whether it came in close to what was?
Zero idea.
10 years ago is a long
Knowing
time.
the exact number, yeah, no.
Fiscally.
Well, Lisa has a great memory.
And you wouldn't have had a budget.
No, there
No.
was no budget.
No.
That I do know there was no
Yeah.
budget to work from, which is why this budget that Jeremiah and I created with the help of these guys was a challenge just because we were doing our best to kind of project what we anticipate.
Which is what a budget is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it sounds like we have enough money to cover if we go over.
Yes,
And
yeah,
there's
we're not
also
worried. It's not
contingency
tight.
built in, so.
Mhm.
So-
It's not tight, so it's thank goodness. I mean,
Right.
Yeah, but our goal is to do it,
We
obviously
want
as
exactly
efficient
as
as
we could.
possible.
Right.
And, I mean, provided that the state, could change in the future how much they give the town. So it makes sense to do it as, not just to, obviously use the whole thing, but that could ever change. I mean, everything's always changing with taxes and with the department and the state in terms of, some towns don't have anything in their reappraisal.
Right.
Which they use all of it, yeah. And so they're at a deficit and then, they have to, anyway, it presents real problems.
Good.
Well done.
Is there any more discussion? So I will be seeking a motion to accept the ARGI contract for reappraisal services as presented to allow the Select Board Chair to sign on behalf of the Guilford Select Board.
I'd like to add to that the board should review those.
I agree with you. We have, I'm about to ask that we be able to see, when Katie sends us the budgets on a weekly basis, for a
Yeah.
pre-meeting, she's gonna add to it this reappraisal budget and actuals
Yeah, I
as we get
mean,
figures, so
I
we'll
mean,
know how that's
Go
going.
ahead and sign, but
Yeah,
we need to review them after or whatever, so.
So we had basically a monthly breakdown of how we're gonna pay, and I think we built in there, if he doesn't meet certain criteria by
Part of the
certain.
contract,
Yeah.
actually.
Yes.
It's a
Yes.
requirement of the contract,
Yeah,
right.
So we
so
can-
it's,
We can void the
Implicit in there.
contract if he doesn't meet certain deadlines.
we can either void it or we can just hold off on payments
Yeah.
until those
Yeah.
mile markers are met.
yeah.
So it's
And-
It's already in the written
Yeah.
into the contract,
We'll
so.
be providing the select board with updates ongoing. I was thinking, I hadn't really, but I was proposing maybe like once a month, like
the monthly
giving,
probably could be
give
good.
you an idea of what,
That's,
where we're at.
that sounds good.
I mean, weekly is, every other week is.
we're not.
No.
You don't wanna see me that much.
And honestly, I mean, we could probably even just write something up for you guys. I don't think that we actually need to visit with you monthly.
right. We
Right.
can, the same way we look
Yeah.
at the budget,
Mhm.
budget versus year-to-date actuals, I think that will work
Perfect.
just
Mhm.
fine.
So we'll just kind of work that up, give it to Katie to disseminate, and there we go. And if you guys have questions, you know how to find us.
We
Yeah,
do.
what we're trying to do is provide Russ the, if he wants to start April 1st would be ideal, so, I mean, that's really close, and that's.
That's why we're pushing to get this signed.
Yeah,
Great.
So,
excellent. Thank you.
Is there a motion?
I would like to make the motion that we accept the contract for the reappraisal for
ARGI
ARGI
and allow.
and allow Sheila to sign the paperwork, the contract.
Second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passed, thank you. Okay. Jeremiah, you're up again for discussing the GIS mapping project.
So we
Yes.
have essentially gone over the review process with our mapping company, Main Street GIS. And we're essentially finished what they proposed to do. We gave them about 70 map changes, and I was trying to get the exact number, but he's performed over 100 for the same contract, because when we got into basically the chain of title on a lot of these things, we found other properties that needed to be adjusted. And in doing so, we're still going to have several updates further back. We are looking to build that into our maintenance, since Guilford does not have a lot of subdivisions yearly. He's willing to put a minimum amount of work per year to get us essentially current with all of the map changes. So there's 200 slides in the vault, roughly, and we're going through right now and counting those to see how many we're gonna have to change. Because I wanna make sure we have all of the surveys current.
So we're looking through every single survey and checking on the mapping. Are the numbers or parcels correct? Are the shapes right? Do the acreage correct? And we're checking everything, and we are taking notes. And so we're creating a list that, as Jeremiah is saying. So let's say next year there were only 10 subdivisions or lot line changes. Well, since we're paying $2,400 a year, we are then going to go and take some of this history and add that to the 10, and that's just a number I made up. But take some of this history and add it to that to make it a reasonable amount for our annual maintenance. And so every year we're going to take more of the history and get more history taken care of.
So I'm gonna have to get an idea. I'm right now, we don't know until I go through the survey, compare it to my existing GIS map, and see which ones have not been done. And that's really a process of me looking at each map and looking at what the GIS is, and then coming up with a count of how many parcels that would be. I mean, essentially, it was a lot bigger project than we had presented.
Well,
but we haven't gone over in terms of our budget is still. I mean, he was able to do more map corrections than he quoted, and
for that $1,900, he has not charged us any more than that. And even though we gave him a list. Basically, we gave him the maps from 2005. Thought those were up to date. Gave him the maps from 2005, and then all of the lot line changes and subdivisions since then, and that was for the $1,900. Well, again, there was a ton more that has been done than those lists that we had created from all of the PTRs.
Many more subdivisions than
Some
listed.
things were done. Sometimes things were just property lines were just moved and things were just merged instead of lots created and stuff. So it was kind of done in an interesting way for a while. So we were actually going back and redoing a lot of stuff and making more parcels and then merging them up the way the state wants us to. But we're creating these as separate parcels and making everything more accurate.
So
we're
it's
just
hard the way the state does it is contiguous parcels get merged. And
contiguous parcels with the same ownership.
with the same ownership get merged, and unfortunately, that's hard when people try to resell that parcel out because it essentially gets deleted. And it doesn't get deleted, but until you go do a title search, they can't find out where these acres essentially came from. And so we're trying to recreate that, so in the future, you kind of know. There might be a parcel of 30 acres, but there might be 3 parcels in there of 10 acres apiece. And, what you see on your tax bill is just a 30-acre parcel.
Right.
It's beneficial for the state, but it's really detrimental for the town.
Yes, totally.
And for, legal transfer of title, you have to have, the deed represents 10 acres, so they can sell that, separate from the 30 without having a survey or another deed drawn. So And it looks like, you know, the 2005, I've done title searches and map and gone through the PTRs. It looks about 97 is what our maps are. That's what I'm.
That's what I was getting
So
at.
there's another 10 years gap there that.
We didn't realize until somewhat recently.
So are you happy with their work
Absolutely.
overall? Good,
And they're so responsive,
great.
really good to communicate with, totally responsive. You know, we give them suggestions, not only just, you know, these are changes, mapping changes that we need, but we're like, oh, it would be great if your system could do this. And then if it's something that's not, you know, asking the moon, then they do it. And they're making these changes, and some of them, they're loving the ideas that we come up with, and they're actually going to be implementing them, not just for us, but, you know, because it's just upgrading the way they do their systems. And
Great.
So one other.
they've been really good to work with.
Yeah, one other thing going forward is the question of availability of the maps. How much is the town going to make public? Right now it's on the internet and you can go look at it. It's a beta version and we're going to get our final version. But, you know, Vim Tingle, he's the gentleman we've been dealing with Main Street, says he can, you know, take off layers and make it so it's hard to identify, you know, property owners if that's important, or people can be recused from the list. Like if they say, we don't want my parcel, you know, showed, they can be taken off that list. They have to just, so I'm just trying to give something to discussion and talk
So,
about of.
I think
like,
probably tonight is not the time for us to discuss that. I think maybe we should have a smaller meeting and get some recommendations from you and then bring it back to the whole select board for consideration.
Yep.
If that makes sense. I think we have a
I just
lot
wanted you
on.
to
Because
kinda
we can,
think
yeah,
about it.
basically some options, basically how public, because we're gonna obviously have in our home, in our public access computer here.
Right,
That we're gonna have everything.
right.
Because, you know, basically people who come to the office can access everything, while people who come and use our public access computer can access everything. Okay, so so we want it at their fingertips at the office. The question is, again, and we're not gonna, you know, usually said not to discuss tonight, but do you want that everything accessible to, you know, your insurance agents from their office, or to everybody in the world from their
So I
homes?
think
or do you
discussing
wanna-
the pros and cons
Minimize.
and the different
Yep.
possibilities,
I also think that it's a conversation that should include Penny as town
Yep.
clerk.
Yeah.
Since she
Great point.
collects fees
Yep.
on that and it's
Yeah.
revenue
Yeah,
for the town.
and
So
trying to
it's-
come up with a model that is good
Yeah.
for the town.
Yeah.
Anyway, I just wanted to kind
Thank
of
you
throw
for-
that out
thank
there.
you for alerting
That's
us to that.
something.
Do you have a sort of estimate on when your live date would be?
Oh, like this week or next week?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
So that meeting should take place sooner rather than later.
We can go live just on our
Next-
computer
Okay.
here.
Okay.
Is it
Yeah.
a fair statement to say that it turns from sometimes a bad dream into a nightmare?
It could.
Yeah.
Yeah, anyway, we don't want to do anything that's
And,
against what the town.
neither Jeremiah nor I nor these guys feel comfortable making that decision, how much we put out there or not. We don't want that.
But that's kind of the update with the GIS. Yeah, that's.
Thank you. Thank you all. It's busy time. And you've got more busy times coming, so thank you for all that good work.
So, I can sit down.
You're done.
But no, I'm gonna take my kids back home. I just grabbed them out of karate.
The next thing on the, before we launch into the first item under new business, I forgot to say welcome to Gordon. As our new select board member.
Gordon, thank you.
Gordon Andrew.
Andrew. According to the
Otherwise known as
reformer,
Andrew in the
it's Andrew.
paper. You'll see it's a fun group.
Thank you.
So, the first item is a request for authorization to refer accounts to the attorney for tax sales by the delinquent tax collector, and I don't have, I told you, I don't have my, I can't get into my Dropbox thing.
So moved.
So, should I just introduce this topic a little bit? There are 55 total delinquencies. 28 of them are delinquent for tax year 2015 only. Those are not being referred to the tax attorney. 12 are delinquent for multiple years and following a payment agreement. Those are not referred to a tax attorney. 15, the remaining 15 are delinquent for multiple years and are not following a payment agreement, and these 15 properties are being referred to the tax attorney. We need to expend town funds on working with the attorney, so I will be seeking a motion to authorize Guilford's delinquent collector to refer these 15 delinquent tax accounts to the attorney Jody French in order to pursue tax sales.
I would like to make the motion that we, the 15 delinquent parcels in town,
Tax accounts.
tax accounts, be referred to the tax attorney for tax sales.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion?
I think, like I've said before, over many years, there's only two things that's certain in life. That's death and taxes. And there is a lot of money owed to this town.
There is.
By a lot of people that are not doing what the rest of the people are doing in this town.
When these go to, Katie, do you know the answer to this? When these are transferred to the tax attorney, I assume the property owners have been alerted to
Oh,
that?
yeah.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Okay, just wanted to make that.
And it really then falls in the tax attorney's hands. Like,
Yeah.
so Penny refers, she doesn't talk to them, they need to talk to the attorney.
Okay, and do we have any idea how much this might cost the attorney fees? Is there an estimate from Jody on that?
I wanna say, I don't know.
Okay.
I thought that they had
Right.
covered it last time, but I can't quite recall off the
But
top
will
of
it
my head.
come, it will probably come out of tax revenues collected, I would
Yes.
imagine.
That's exactly
It
it.
will.
So it's not, well, so we're spending town funds up front, but the town will be reimbursed. Okay.
Correct.
Makes sense.
Any further discussion?
And it's paid back through part of their agreement as
Right.
well. So it's, you have to expend to get back.
Right,
So it's.
okay, great, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The next item on the agenda is to update on an ongoing tax complaint from.
Dog complaint.
Dog
Dog
complaint, taxes on the brain, from Nancy Johnston, who complained originally around Thanksgiving. And that was referred to Walter Thorne at the end of November. Walter connected with the dog owner at the end of December, about 6 weeks later. But he never then got back to the complainant, Nancy Johnson, despite having assured me in mid-January that he would. I talked to Nancy a week or so ago to find out if she had heard from Walter, and she had not. And then I called Nancy Line on March 9th, who reported to me that Walter had been there that morning to talk with her. And I then wrote to Nancy Johnston and said I was sorry that it had taken from November to March 9th, and asked her if Walter had indeed been in touch with her, as he told Nancy Line that he would be, and he has not been in touch with her. So it's not actually resolved yet. Walter and Nancy Line asked Nancy Johnson to alert them to when she's going to run once, so that they can be there and observe how the dog responds to the fence and the battery, and to see if it does jump the fence. And I've conveyed that to Nancy Johnston, and the concern is that Nancy Line can't guarantee the dog won't jump the fence, and it's still an open issue, and I haven't heard if Nancy Johnson has been trying to run again. She basically has tried to avoid that road.
For my benefit, can you just give me an overview? Obviously, Nancy Line and Nancy Johnson are involved in this incident, but what happened? So that if you
The
don't mind.
dog, when Nancy runs down, is it Heinsberg Road? When
Yep.
she runs down Heinsberg Road, the dog comes out, and it came out in April and then again in November. And it's a pretty scary, big German Shepherd dog. It just scares Nancy, so she asked that something
nothing
be done. Nothing, no
happened,
no
okay,
harm
because I've
or
never
anything
seen,
like
that's a
that.
big, it's a big
It's-
animal,
No,
but I've never
it's just
seen it.
that she would like to be
Okay.
able to run
Gotcha.
feeling secure, and she
Fair.
has the right to do that, and she was asking
Thank
for
you.
this to be taken care of.
She has a definite fear of dogs, period. My Cocker Spaniel ran out on the road the other day and it put her into a panic. It's something that she needs to find another road to run on.
I think that's probably not correct. I think that she has the right to run, whether she has a fear of dogs or not, and that it is the dog owner's responsibility to control their dogs.
As far as the Lyons property, so it's my understanding they have put in an electric fence to
They
try
did,
to contain
yeah.
the dog.
And in the incident in November, the battery was dead, and
Gotcha.
Nancy didn't know it.
Gotcha.
And she's very apologetic, and
Yes.
she's trying to do everything she can to help.
Gotcha. Thank you.
So, I'm just reporting that that is kind of still an open issue there, and I've been
Right.
trying to deal with it. I'm sorry,
Well,
Shaun?
since they're both my neighbors also, I know that Nancy Line moved the fence, the invisible fence, up closer to the house, so I know that she's very concerned about it.
She is concerned and she is trying, and it just, we haven't seen the final resolution here.
Yeah.
If the dog
Yeah, no,
actually,
okay.
and Nancy Johnson was feeling that she did not need to let the dog owner know every time she wanted to run. And so my understanding was that Walter Thorne and Nancy Line agreed that they would ask her to notify them once so that they could observe it. So I thought that was a
Thank you.
reasonable request and conveyed that to Nancy Line.
I was at the mailbox, just to clear up what I said, I was at the mailbox with a Cocker Spaniel when she ran by and it put her into a panic. So I mean, it's the issue of fear that, like me and snakes.
The next item on the agenda is a report from Katie on financial services being provided by Cynthia Stoddard.
Cynthia is continuing to provide, Cynthia, just so you know,
Okay.
Cynthia worked for Nemrick for many years, which is our municipal software that we use for all of our accounting. She has left Nemrick and has another job now, but does side work,
Mhm.
still doing consulting. And she was contracted back in
September, October,
Yeah.
to help us in, when Becky was actually to help us in general
Yeah.
with budget figures and
Got it.
Nemrick work.
So, Nemrick services are $125 an hour, Cynthia's are $75. So we reap
Excellent.
some real savings there. She's excellent, she knows our books
Yep.
really well. She helped me set them up back in 2009. And so she's gonna meet with us on a quarterly basis. We don't need to use Nemrick quite as much anymore. Or Cynthia, because I do a lot of the things that we were asking them to do before. So I will work with Cynthia on a quarterly basis to have her review our trial balance, just to make sure some of our, I'm not an accountant, I don't pretend to be an accountant, just to make sure that we are looking good, and then she'll work with us to close out the year end
Great.
to ensure that we're prepared for our audit. And I asked Penny if Cynthia could work with her on, Penny uses Nemrick for more services than I use Nemrick for, and I asked her if she's comfortable using Cynthia for those same things, and she said absolutely, so.
Awesome.
We're gonna be on a quarterly schedule with her, so you'll see that.
And do we have an open-ended contract with her? Okay.
Yeah, we can.
I don't remember,
Tighten that
yeah,
I
we
don't
I don't
either.
think we need to, but I just haven't seen the contract since October, so I think it's worth
I
looking
think
at.
it's just an open-ended contract is what we've had with Cynthia.
I'll find it.
Okay, thank you. Next item, to set the regular schedule for select board meetings for the coming year.
Second and fourth Mondays of the month, as it's been for years,
Dick, remind me of the,
except for the few
Except-
holidays that we changed.
and then we do it Wednesday, the following.
The
Yeah.
following Wednesday.
Oh, sorry, we have an official,
Yeah, so you're moving to keep the existing schedule for regular
Yes.
select board meetings on the
Yes.
second and fourth Mondays of
Yes.
each month at 6:30 PM at the Guilford Town Office, unless it falls on a holiday, in which case the meeting will be the Wednesday immediately following at 6:30 PM. Sorry.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Second.
second, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Set regular schedule of select board work sessions for the ensuing year.
Which
This-
you did the last meeting,
We
but
did.
you're gonna formalize it more now, so I can do this
You can
and
post
post
that.
it in the town office, and then it's done, and I don't have to do
Excellent.
any other warning.
So these are 8 o'clock on a Thursday morning, topics to be, topics as they arise or are of interest, or if something comes up, to, for new members to learn and for us to study things, but to take no action and make no decisions. So may I have a motion establishing?
I will make a motion.
He's throwing his feet in the water. Look at that.
Team player. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
You remember that?
Any opposed?
I think Dennis Franklin was 2 years before he spoke. He was on the select.
We now need to designate official posting locations, which have been
Guilford
Guilford Country
Store, Library, and
Green
and
River
Green River
Bridge.
Bridge.
So
No,
if
the
we don't
Grange,
have
not the
the
library, the Grange,
The Grange.
yes.
And when the Green River Bridge is down, you post them by the mailbox up by Jelly
Yeah.
Roll, Jelly Mill,
Yes, I should put that in there.
which I think is
I
good.
have never put it at the Grange.
You're supposed
Where do you
to.
put it?
I put two.
Yeah.
One at the country, I'm sorry, my bad.
And then sometimes we
Guilford
throw one up
Country
at the school just to be on the safe
You
side.
do?
Yep.
Okay, so is there a motion?
I'd like to make the motion that we make the following places the postings for the informing the public: Guilford Store, Guilford Grange, and the Green River Covered Bridge, except for when it's under the construction. It will be posted down by the mailboxes at Jelly Mill Hill Road.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Hey,
Any opposed? Motion carried. Designate the town's paper of record. So it has been the Brattleboro Reformer. Dick, why are you laughing?
well, that's what I was gonna say, it's been the Reformer, but we've added 14 pages a week, so.
No, yeah, total. But we,
But it's increasing.
but the price of, to post it in the Commons, which appears weekly, is significantly lower cost.
And I can, the Reformer after 8 o'clock at night it's gone. To be printed, you don't get it back for 2 or 3 days. When Mike was here, I think that he said, I think it's 3 days. If the Reformer were doing this meeting tonight, I think it would be 3 days before.
It'd be
it would appear in the
Thursday before
Reformer.
it would be in the Reformer.
Which is, that's when it is in the Guilford, that's when it's in the Commons, right? It's on Thursdays.
Because that is from
yeah.
that Wednesday, every Wednesday, right?
The Commons comes out on
Common,
Thursday.
I mean, yeah.
We have a representative of the Commons here.
Oh, right.
Who can share all the questions that you want
Thank
answers
you.
to, he can
Excellent.
give you.
Is that why you were here,
Thanks,
Barry?
Barry.
That's why I'm here, thank you very much. I think Jeff Potter's letter is maybe in your packet. Jeff Potter sent a letter today, he sent it a while ago, but there was an email problem. Maybe it's not there. In any case, I'm here to explain and add impetus to the request by the Commons for it to be the newspaper of record. As many of you know, I've been involved with the Commons, since the beginning. And I personally, and we all are very gratified that it has reached a level of importance to the community for news and information exchange. We cover Guilford extensively, as much as we can, and we have a current expansion plan for purpose of providing more news and journalism to the community that these communities deserve. Our expansion plan is therefore to cover Guilford and all of the towns even more, with a larger weekly town and village section and an online daily presence for daily updates. We have dozens of members of Vermont Independent Media. Vermont Independent Media is the publisher of the Commons. We have dozens of Guilforders who are members and hundreds of Guilforders who are readers. And 2 out of the 5 board members are Guilford residents, myself included. And
Who's the other?
and we are local and we are nonprofit. So for all of these reasons, we'd appreciate your support as we continue to be a mission-driven, locally owned organization for the purpose of journalism and news and exchange of information and views in the county. But it is not only the ideological reasons of local connections and nonprofit, it is also nuts and bolts. As I think you started to mention, our ad rates are significantly less than what you've been paying. We estimate, and I have some details, we estimate about 25 to 50% less. At the same time, our distribution is double. We print 10,500 copies, so any given day, any given week, any given day that you're our Guilford public notices in the Commons, it will reach twice as many readers as the current newspaper of record. The Reformer's daily circulation nowadays hovers around 4,500. The Commons prints 10,500. So for significantly less money on our budget, we would reach twice as many readers for the public notice. So there's a question of it's a weekly rather than a daily, and you started to answer it, which I didn't even know. Even with the daily, there is a several day lag. We feel, the Commons staff feels that with proper management from both sides, we could overcome most of the burden most of the obstacles that being a weekly presents by working very carefully with the town manager and with the select board. And the staff is committed to doing what it can, including extending the deadlines to way up till, minutes or hours before the paper's put to bed and shipped off to the Sentinel and then picked up the next day. So the final ad copy could go in late on Tuesday, and I've done this myself internally, and get printed a couple hours later and distributed quickly to the Guilford store and to all of the places around the county, 250 locations. So that's one way that we could overcome the obstacle of weekly rather than daily, which, as I hear anyway, which I didn't hear when I gave the same presentation to other select boards, that the Reformer anyway has 3 days. You have to, so that's almost, that's half the week that we're losing anyway. What other towns have had Commons as newspaper of record in years past, and they have renewed this year with very positive feedback, saying it has worked seamlessly, it has worked perfectly, we're very content, and we're doing it again. So, personally, as a Guilford resident, and on behalf of Carolyn Tell also, the other board member of Vermont Independent Media, as Guilford residents, I'd be very gratified if our town could come on board too. And I'll answer any questions that you might have about who we are, what we're doing, and how we could make it work. And again, it would be a benefit to our budget, if nothing else. And we're confident we can make it work for whatever you need.
Thank you very much.
I think with that, I'd like to vote of confidence and say I would move that we have the Commons as our paper of record, and knowing that we can pick it up Wednesday morning or whatever, on
Thursday morning.
rather than Thursday when.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any more discussion, any questions for Barry? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Thanks, Barry.
Barry, thank you for that presentation, that was actually very helpful.
Great, and I'd be glad to speak with anybody, as friends, as townspeople. I'd be glad to speak to any of you privately if you have any other questions about what I've been doing, what the Commons is doing, and what our future is in the changing media landscape in our county. Because it's, as you hear, as you know, I'm very passionate about it. It's very important to all of us to have quality journalism. So, later on, I know you're busy.
Yeah, thank you.
You all could reach me whenever you want. You know how to reach me. Thanks a lot.
Thank you
Thank you very
very
much.
much, Barry. So, the next thing on the agenda is the annual select board appointments. Starting with Recreation Commission.
Are there any changes to the list you have here?
I have a couple of changes and remarks, so let me, maybe what I would do is just, maybe other people have some questions before I
I had one question where my name comes up under the Conservation Commission. I was stepping off that, and they were aware of that, and they were actually in the process of finalizing. Has that been finalized?
You're
So we
good.
should- No,
you're
but should we
so-
change the name here?
We will.
Okay,
Yeah.
you'll do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, what they'll do, they'll come here to one of the meetings
Perfect.
and let the Conservation Commission will come here.
It's all been.
All
Yeah.
taken care of. I love it.
Well,
Sorry,
la-di-da.
The reason I brought that up, I think, because we have one collective motion for all
I'm
of us.
hoping we can,
Yeah.
but I do have a couple questions and a couple of, does anybody have anything else they want to say about this list? So the things that have come to my attention are, under the Recreation Commission, Charles Morse does not want to be appointed. And Dave Morse is his 15-year-old son, also my nephew. And I think he probably would not, I mean, he might be willing to be asked, but I think he might not do it without his dad. So,
Makes sense.
I think we might wanna take those two names off for now.
And David Gessner hasn't agreed to be.
Okay, so
I
three
posed
names
that
off
to him,
now.
but yeah.
So we would have Wendy, Eric, Lisa, those are definite yeses, Katie?
Mhm.
Ryan?
Not a definite yes.
Okay.
yet.
The others, Chris, Jen, Tad, and Tim Harris are people who volunteered.
Those are people that were on
So 1,
Wendy's
2, 3,
list, so we would need to reach out to
4,
them.
5,
I
6,
don't have
7. So,
So technically, we could do the rest of the appointments until we reach out to those people.
we could do
And
all
just do
but
three.
All but
recreation.
the Recreation Commission,
We could,
until we can hear
And we could
from
actually do the
those.
first three of the Recreation Commission as well. Yes?
I would rather wait until you have more than just those three people on the commission. Because once we appoint those people, them three could start meeting.
they couldn't have a quorum though, could they?
They have three.
And it's
Is that
seven.
a bad thing?
It's 7 is the
Is
number.
So, do they have a quorum if there's 7?
If there's three, there's a quorum.
No.
What's
Yeah.
they need for?
Four.
What's their
Four.
definition
Four
of
for
quorum?
How can you have four? Oh, is it 4 for 7? I thought
Yeah,
it was
no.
an
Or is
odd
it-
number.
Or is it a majority of those present?
That's a good question.
I'm wondering on that committee,
I thought
if
it
we
was-
ran into that, if it's the quorum is the majority of the members present, or like us, we gotta have.
We have to have three.
We gotta have
It's
three.
really a good question, because
Well,
the
you need to
planning
know what it-
commission, we always assume that it's the majority of the board, and if it's only the.
I think planning commissions,
Majority, sometimes it's a majority of those present, sometimes it's a majority. It can be a different definition of what a quorum is, so we should look that up.
Yeah, because the Conservation Commission does a majority of the board,
Yeah. And
not the
then
majority of those present.
So,
Well, since we seem unsure, why don't we postpone, to
yeah,
Troy's point, on doing anything with the Recreation Commission until, that may put an impetus for them to move a little quicker to finalize this list of.
right. So the other situation is dog officer and alternate dog officer. And I would like to propose that we make Marion Lawrence dog officer and do away with the position of alternate dog officer, since it's not mandated by state.
I think that's a mistake. I'll tell you why, because, and it doesn't actually come under dock officer, but it would, I think, if it went that way. Well, I'm not gonna say Walter as constable has done various things under dock officer that probably Mary Ann would not wanna do. I think you better check with Mary Ann on that. I think that's a decision we should make.
We checked with Marianne, and she is willing to take this on, but are you suggesting there's things that she can't?
If
Handle.
they're,
I'm
okay,
thinking-
for example, I'll give the example, Dick, I'll be the one to throw it out there. 3 years ago, we had the blue tick that got loose, was killing the chickens and the turkeys. 3 years ago, 4 years ago?
What's a blue tick?
Blue tick.
It's a hound.
Blue tick hound.
Dog.
It's a hound.
We had to actually shoot at the dog
Yeah.
to stop the dog,
Mhm.
okay? I don't know if Mary Ann's got that in her to do something like
But
that.
I also
she's got
don't
to.
think that
I
just
don't think
because we
John
have a
Lyon
constable
would've
who's.
John
Sorry?
John would have shot. If he needed to, John would have shot.
And if we need to, you know.
Well, I know that she rips chickens' heads off when they're done.
That's true,
So I'm
she
feeling
does
like
do
she
that.
might be able to do it. I could ask her.
Prior to that, we had, in the middle of the night, we were meeting because 2 pit bulls had chewed up a cow.
Oh, yeah, I remember that one too.
That was, I know Mary Ann would not deal with that. I mean, to be gross, the
Never mind.
cow's tongue was chewed out and all of that good
So,
stuff.
I'm gonna beg to differ on that one.
Yeah.
She's a very good friend of mine,
Yeah.
and I
She's
know
a
her
tough
well
cookie.
when she can
Yeah.
take,
Yeah.
and she is,
Well, I mean,
she's soft for animals, but she does what she needs to
did
do
she,
for animals.
what did she say?
She said she'd be willing to do it. And I'm sure she's aware of the,
And she's very available.
and responsive. Well, we can, that is the other recommendation that I have, and the final recommendation is, on planning commission, I believe Herb Meyer does not want to, his seat is up and he does not want to be renominated. And Jethro Eaton, who is new to town, he was the young man
Oh, yeah, yeah,
who
yeah,
stood
yeah,
up and talked about the, town report, the question of the
Yes,
automatic,
whether it should go,
town meeting.
yeah, if we should take away
And he stepped up
the.
and volunteered to be on planning commission, and Michelle is in favor of that. He's
I
very
met him
eager to
briefly,
do
he
it.
was at the pre-town
He
meeting.
Yes, he
at the
was.
meeting.
Yeah.
After, at the end of that, I was very impressed with him,
Yeah.
so I think that's great.
So,
What is his last name?
Eaton.
Jethro Eaton, he's just moved to town recently, I think, so that's great that we have another younger person stepping in. So, I think we've decided, we've agreed that we are gonna postpone acting on the Recreation Commission. We are agreed on Jethro Eaton, and we are not agreed on dog officer, or are we agreed
I
on dog officer?
think that's a bad step, I really do.
I think my only question would be if she feels she can, how long has she been the assistant
About
or
5
alternate?
years. Well, she
Yeah.
run the pound.
She
She's
runs
the
the
town
pound
pound.
too.
But have any of these issues come up over that time when she was
No.
the
No.
associate?
They haven't come up really.
And I
at
think
all.
that's the second part of my question, is if these are kind of irregular events, then, is that gonna deter her from doing the job as dog officer?
We can always
Should the
do
dog
it for a
officer be
year.
shooting things?
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, that's
they
the
have
thing.
the
Not to-
Well,
authority,
he's
I mean,
he was the constable.
well,
at
that's the
time.
thing, isn't it, that he can be constable, and then if there is a serious issue, like you need to shoot the dog, you should be calling the constable anyway?
Or the,
Or the police,
Yeah.
or someone who actually
Yeah.
has authority to
right,
I mean, I personally.
discharge a weapon like that?
yeah.
How about I do a little research for the board on what,
So we will
I mean,
postpone
that would be
recreation
my
commission and dog officer?
Suggestion, and we should check with, I mean, I'm not sure, I'm a dog officer shooting guns. Necessarily, unless he's
It's a
is a
Wild
constable or a sheriff or
Ah.
something.
So I would
Just
like
for
to make I would like to make the following motion that we nominate all
Are we not
the
doing this?
select board appointments, with the exception
Hold on
of,
just a second.
okay.
Sorry.
that's okay.
Should we read them all?
Sorry, Katie, let me think. Wyndham, are you agreeing to serve on the Wyndham Regional Commission
Oh, yeah.
again? And then has Bill Murray agreed
He's,
to do that?
yeah. We nominated him at town meeting day, didn't we?
No.
Oh, no, that was
And
something
he's
else.
been looking for a long time to,
They step aside, yeah.
I think he wants to step aside, but
Because we have two people here tonight who are also very active in Wyndham Regional Commission. One is Gabby. What is your role there right now?
I'm on the Brownfields Commission.
And Katie, who is on a few committees, correct?
I sit on community development and Brownfield. Those are my two I sit on.
So we could appoint Katie or Gabby instead of Bill Murray, if forgotten that he was. Any preference, any recommendation?
Doesn't matter.
I would much rather have, and no offense to you, to Gabby to have on there, because Monday nights is already pretty stocked and packed for her.
Are those meetings, your meeting is once a month on
That's
Mondays?
just his committee that meets.
Oh, I thought, okay.
no, they're not all on Monday. Transportation's on Monday, and there was
Okay.
another one that was on Monday, but I can't remember which one it was. But
And you usually make it about 20 minutes late,
I
we
sh-
couldn't have that, but,
Yeah,
so maybe, Katie?
But I mean, my community development meetings are on Wednesdays at 4:30. Brownfield is usually like a
Friday
morning.
morning
Yeah.
at 9.
So the meetings are all different times.
Okay, I thought they was all like on
No,
Mondays.
no.
Okay.
So it might
Have
be
we talked to
helpful.
Bill
Yes.
recently? Okay.
He's
good.
expressed.
Yeah, no, I know from a year ago.
He's very eager to decommit for lots of things.
No, he's done
And
an
he's
amazing
served,
job.
yeah, he has served the community
really has.
amazingly,
So
yeah.
maybe
Like
for
that.
this year, we have Katie instead of Bill
Right.
Murray, and we consider going forward. Is
I
that,
think that's great.
I think that's good. But I'm happy with whatever. If you
okay,
want.
I'm sorry that
If
I
you're willing
overlooked
to
that.
do it.
So Troy, would you like to make your motion now?
Okay. So, I would like to make the following motion for the appointments for the town of Guilford. I'm gonna go through and read these right fast, so they're on record.
Oh,
So you're gonna move all of them?
I'll move all of them. Okay? Road Commissioner Danny Zabruski, Delinquent Tax Collector Penny Marine, Constable Walter Thorne, Emergency Management Director Ron Lenker, Fence Viewers Danny Zabruski, Dan Ingold, Mert Garland, Conservation Commission, Bill Murray and Susan James,
Bill Jewell?
Bill Jewell,
That's okay. Yep, Susan James.
Planning Commission,
Oh, thank you.
So Susan James, and then instead of Gordon Little, David Gessner.
So Gordon, are you formally resigning?
Yes.
From the Conservation Commission effective right now?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
okay.
Ms.
His name again?
David Gessner.
Gessner. Yeah, I knew it was something.
that's right. You can't really be on both.
That's correct.
Okay.
You could, there's
Sorry
no
to interrupt.
conflict.
Conservation Commission is David Gessner instead of Gordon Little due to resigning. Bill Jewell, Susan James. Planning Commission is Jackie Gaines, Michelle Creasy, Jethro Eaton,
Yeah, a dog named Jethro.
Wyndham Regional Commission, Dick Clark and Katie Buckley instead of Bill Murray. Town Pound, Marianne Lawrence. Flood Plan Coordinator, Administrator, Steve Lemke. Energy Coordinator, Michael Marcy. Green Up Day Coordinator, Ellie Minen. Tree Warden, Daniel Zambruski. Rescue Trustee, Dan Ingold. Wyndham Solid Waste Management Directors, Cheryl Franklin. Troy Rebus as an alternate. Low Level Waste, Steve Detra, Dan Ingold, and John Christensen. Bullock Education Loan Committee, Stephanie Case. Revolving Loan Fund, Troy Rebus. Leaving off, not until we get more information, is the Recreational Commission, Dog Officer, and Alternate Dog Officer.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there a contest on the second?
I think Gordon got him by
No,
a...
it didn't.
All in
You can put
favor?
Dick down.
Aye.
Aye.
He's standing up, he got that.
Any opposed? No. And is there passed with the two research pieces that we have? We also need to designate select board liaisons with the commissions of the Recreation Commission, which we're not at yet, the Conservation Commission, and the Planning Commission. And Gabby, I'm assuming you're Conservation Commission,
Correct.
and I am Planning Commission. And Dick, we actually found out that you can serve on, you can be a select person and you can serve on the commission. So,
Yes, yeah, it's not a conflict, it's
Yeah.
just.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
so I will volunteer to be the Planning Commission liaison again.
And when we form the Recreation Commission,
It will be,
I think it makes sense for the Conservation Commission liaison to be the Recreation Commission liaison because a lot of the work dovetails. So,
Good job, Gabby.
like I have nothing else to do.
Agree, I think in the past, we just agreed to do that. I don't think there was a motion.
so I
No.
added cemetery commission and library trustees to this.
Did you?
I did, only because, I don't know if a board member wants to do it, or if you just want me to do it. I'm gonna have to work.
I think you have to work with them.
anyway.
Yeah.
I'm happy to work with them and then report back to the board if you.
I think that would be great.
Sounds good to me.
Right.
and I'll buy you about another box of L'Oreal.
Another box of what?
L'Oreal.
Yeah, I know, die.
Okay,
It's a running joke.
He always tells me when my words are bad. Kurt's so
It's
sweet.
the Irish in me.
okay, I'm sorry, the next item on the agenda is the select board goals for this coming year. And I don't have my paper, so hang on a second. Yeah, I'm trying not to print, but I wasn't able to get in tonight, so let me see if I have it someplace else. Did people have a chance to read the draft of the goals?
I did.
So,
I did not get through all of them.
any comment?
I didn't get to read them either.
I thought it was a great start.
And I think I thought some of them we do already, but we don't necessarily pull it out as something we recognize as doing.
Exactly.
For example, you know, reevaluating the offices and making sure they're consistent with the state. Like we did that anyway because we knew we needed a floodplain officer this year, for
Right.
example. So some of the things we do at budget time anyway, but I think it's fine to call them out as specific things we need to be doing annually or on a regular basis.
When we was a 3-member board, at one time we was meeting, I think if I'm not mistaken, we tried to touch base with them at least twice a year, I think it was. Like the cemetery
Yeah,
and stuff like that. We try to meet with them twice a year or touch base with them, get a report from them and stuff like that, if I remember right. So,
we actually told them they could come anytime they wanted
Yeah.
to talk to us.
Yeah.
It's an open meeting.
right.
So maybe it would be useful for me just to read the headlines.
And I thought the capital plan one we sort of needed to do anyway to sort of
Right.
we'd sort of set that ourselves up to do that. So I thought they were
Okay, so some of these we just kind of wanted to make sure that we are deliberate about them and proactive. So the first goal is that, our goal is that select board policies are sufficient, relevant, and up to date related to Guilford's needs, state law, and VLCT recommendations, so that our action would be to conduct an annual review of policies. The second goal is to put in place the capital program planning and budget process. We passed this program last October. We need to do it. We just need to get and make sure that we do it, so that's a big goal for this year. Third goal, ensure optimal relations among town entities. So Katie's been talking about working with the library this year, and we'll look at some other, the Guilford Volunteer Fire Department and Human Services, to make sure there's no overlap or that our town funds are being used responsibly. The fourth goal is to ensure that town-appointed official roles and responsibilities are necessary and are being executed. The fifth is to the fifth goal is to have effective community-wide communication and outreach. This is something that came up repeatedly in the Vermont Council on Rural Development. It's come up in the Planning Commission meetings and the town meetings. It's come up at things where I've been at the Grange and people said to me, oh, I didn't know about that. And, you know, people don't know to use the website or they need to be telephoned. So we just need to start thinking about how to be effective in communicating. And the sixth is to look at the cost-effective solid waste disposal program for Guilford. And that comes out of the negotiations between Brattleboro and the Wyndham Solid Waste Management District to see what's happening there and to see if we are being best, if our dollars are buying what we need or if we can use what we need for less dollars. And I don't have an opinion on any of this, I just, those were the things that we were thinking were sort of top of mind for this year.
Well, then if you live in Guilford and you have a private hauler, you may want to call Mike Hebert and talk to him about Act H602, which is the Bill of Waste. That's another thing that's getting ready to hit the fan.
Oh, good. Well, you'll be
be
on that
report
little
on it.
subcommittees, right? So,
I think the communication one is going to be a challenging one, but a really important one. I think that's a good one.
so I think Katie printed these out for you, Dick, and you.
I may not have printed
Oh.
those because
It was
named
Friday,
after-
yeah.
and that was
My screen's a little bit small to read them all.
Right. So, I don't know if we need to adopt these or just agree that these are goals that we wanna aim for
I
this
think they're
year.
just goals for us to shoot for.
Does
Sheila,
anybody
to
have
tell you.
any other things they wanna add to this? I mean, I sort of took these out of the, town plan that we adopted last year, and also a little bit of discussions from other people, but I by no means think I've got everything, or.
I think you hit the high ones, I think the capital plan, the communications,
Right.
I think they're good.
The next thing is trainings and workshops. We agreed at some point last year that with 5 select board, I need to find that document. Do you have it, Katie?
I don't have it.
I don't know. That we would create a matrix of all of the trainings and workshops that are available, because it now costs nearly double what it cost in previous years for select board to be trained. I don't have that, Katie, so.
What did you want to see this?
I didn't, yes.
That's just a start, it's not, I started to track who was going, I tried to go back in our records through accounts payable and pull up what trainings we've paid for, so we know who was going.
Have we not tracked that historically?
No.
No, people just go,
Gotcha.
and
They
we,
go if they can go.
I'm glad you track.
Well, we were also
Just to have
over
a
budget
record.
last year
Right.
with that
Yeah.
budget line item
Not
as
to
well.
prevent
And then,
people from doing it, but
yeah, and
just
part
to
was because they went from
understand.
the 3 to the 5.
Sure.
2,
So-
4,
Alright, that's smart.
6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16,
What am I
18.
gonna have fun with this one?
It could cost us around $2,000 with the ones that we have listed already, which is a lot of money. We need to determine who's going to best benefit from these and who brings relevant information back to the town. So you gave Gabby,
Open
meeting
meeting
law
and
works.
confidentiality and
yeah,
bias
so-
and all
that we've
that
already
good stuff.
used. And I think we should agree prior to a meeting that that we're gonna, people are gonna go. We put it out there for the town officer education, thinking that everybody should go to that, because it's such an important one, but what are some of the other ones?
You got,
There's a couple of printouts I have.
there's the listers
Oh, not
forum
this
in
one.
here and mapping and,
So the auditor's workshop, it shouldn't, I don't think select board
No,
members should go
Jim's
to.
not working
Yeah,
on
yeah, yeah, so I think we should just agree.
maybe we should send Dick drones for community mapping. Shouldn't have brought that up.
I haven't started yet,
Everyone's
Troy.
aware,
When
my
I get going, you're gonna
My
feel
training's
different.
also in that
Sorry?
line item, my training is
Right.
also in that
So we
line
actually have
item.
6 people who are,
And,
Yeah.
yeah,
and Montpelier's expenses are rising.
Yeah, the Montpelier trips, workshop registration and the mileage reimbursement is, if we all go independently, it's $200 each. It's a lot of money.
I wish they put it online.
Yeah.
webinars, yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't think, again, there's any action to take. I just think that we need to be more conscious of dollars. I'm sorry, Jamie, and I,
No,
Well, there's this one
my,
that I need to know.
my
who's
comment
attending.
is that when they send these out on the headline, these classes, they say for whatever, and auditors, the select board doesn't need to go to, listers, the select board doesn't need to go to, but most of them, the select board can get something out of.
but do you think the select board should be represented, or?
Not necessarily. I've been to a couple of listed ones. I've never been to an audited one, but I went to a listed one. It's good useless information, basically, because you don't use it. I mean, the list is their own entity and but we started out real good, because Saturday was the Select Board Institute in Montpelier. We've got 3 new Select Board members, counting you, Abby. And guess what? I'm the only one that went.
Well,
So,
I actually was out of town for
Yeah.
100th birthday.
and it was an absolutely wonderful.
So I'm assuming you brought stuff back
I
to share
got
with
a
the board.
folder that thick.
excellent.
Next March, I'll have another Select Board Institute.
And
They
there's,
have it
but,
twice a year.
but they do
I'm
have,
hoping
but
that
they
I have
say,
back
so,
surgery next year
so
at the
there's a
same
second
time.
one. that you
Yeah,
can tell.
I don't know, they're gonna have a second one this
Yeah.
year? They are,
They
okay.
usually
They do
do.
every year.
And one of the things that came from that, we need to understand our role as select board members. And I have to get after you a little bit, Sheila, because your role as chair of the select board is to run a meeting. You cannot, you have no statutory authority other than run the meeting by yourself. And I think the fact that you spend a lot of time with Katie going over stuff is sort of pushing the envelope a little bit. And it may be to the point that I just don't think you should do it. Katie needs to gather the information. It's okay to come in and say, this is what I got, what's the meeting gonna be about, but to sit down and go over it with her is taking time away from her work. So she has to send out emails at 7 o'clock at night now. But the overall appearance is you really shouldn't be doing it because you're acting as the board when you're doing that. And it's no statutory authority for that.
I think it's worth consulting with the VLCT. Whenever Katie and I meet, or Katie and Gabby and I meet, we are discussing information and figuring out what sorts of things to bring before the board and how to do it. And those are productive work meetings.
And that's stretching the
But
envelope
we
as far as your
don't make
statutory authority
decisions
goes.
and we do not take actions.
No, but you're still acting for the board as the board.
No, I'm
But I think it's
acting in my
important.
role as chair. Sorry,
And I'm gonna
Gabby.
say, like, for me, the reason why I think it's important for me to talk to Katie is so that I don't waste time at meetings, because I don't have the history and knowledge
you're
that you
learning
guys do. So
Well, I
I
mean-
go to Katie and I'm not making, I don't see it as, it's
Yeah.
totally informational. It's as if she sent me a huge email, but instead it saves time, because it's way easier to talk about the budget face to face. So I think, I would just be wary about trying to limit that. I think as long as there's no decisions being made, like, we don't get information about something or something's held back, I think that's a different story. But I'll say I feel really, I think, and especially the first year being on the select board, it's key, because I mean, our meetings would be 4 hours long with all my questions.
I think one of the first things Garrett Baxter said was, you have absolutely no authority on your own as a select board member.
Absolutely.
And the impression is that, and I know the intent is good, but the impression is
So,
that,
It actually covers what the board
Yeah.
chair should
Well, and I
do
would
and not
actually
do
say that
in here.
okay, and
Pretty well.
Gabby, and Katie got this for Gabby, me, and Gordon, so we now have some
I have a
data. We
copy
did not
of
have
it.
this
I started
last
reading
year,
it.
so
yeah,
I'll be looking at that with an eye to your
I
comments, Dick.
actually think that warning the meetings and having them
Yeah,
open will actually be transparent.
I'm
so
not
that-
talking about the work
Okay,
session.
okay,
Yeah, I'm talking about,
well, that's what we have, is work
Yeah.
sessions.
yeah.
Like, I get together with Katie every week to talk about the agenda.
yes,
To
and
create the
you
agenda.
get into in-depth conversation about what you're gonna talk about with the agenda, and 2 motions tonight are already set. The motion on the reappraisal company, and the motion on
The
Penny.
wording, yes, the wording of the motion is
That
set.
never should have been there.
I disagree with you, sorry.
The discussion should have been made, and then the motion should have been put forth. Because you're putting the motion before the discussion. And we're a little bit different than town meeting, but,
The
But
motion
we also
came-
have the
bad-
ability
it's
to
a bad
change,
image.
but we have the ability to change a motion if there's a concern
Yeah.
that you or I or anyone,
Yeah.
feels that something is inappropriate.
Or
And-
if we don't want to make the
And,
motion.
Well, we don't wanna
you,
make
you can
one.
blame me. I put that, she hasn't asked me to do that. I put that out there, not to call you out, but there's some times when you're not sure what to include legally in the
Correct.
motion.
Yeah.
So what I've done is provide language so that if you wanted to print it out,
yeah.
you can read it or you can change it. I just put it out there for the benefit
Yeah.
of the board members who maybe are newer or who are maybe not always so comfortable, because you can be bitten if you haven't included certain language in your motion.
Yeah.
That's what the
Oh, yeah.
purpose of that is.
Well, no, and I feel the same way. I mean, you've been doing this for a long time, but, coming into this, I mean, I'm hoping I can pick up the
Well,
phone or come over and talk to Katie if I have a question, because I think Gabby's point of time is the biggest issue.
Yeah.
If I can't filter some things before some of these meetings,
Yeah.
I'm gonna be asking a ton of questions. And
Yeah.
I wouldn't be trying to, set an agenda
Well, that's good.
or anything, but
I mean,
I think for my education, it would be very helpful if I can
And there are often
communicate.
times when I do the minutes and I type the motion in there that isn't exactly what you guys have said, And I feel conflicted about that,
Yeah,
because
gotcha.
I'm trying to protect you in the way I write the motion, but if you said it that way,
Yeah.
then I wouldn't have to.
Yeah, and
it's
I
just
think a lot of times motions get convoluted a little bit, and she does clear them up somewhat.
And for the record, both motions were made after the discussions this evening.
But I think it's a
But
good,
they were printed.
They were printed.
but
yes.
you changed one, and that was cool.
I what?
You changed one. That was totally cool.
Anyway,
Okay.
I think we can,
I think it's good to keep in the back of our minds.
Yes.
I think it's good to have a discussion about if there's something that's, seeming not maybe as transparent as could be. But I think until there's a real issue, I think I would be hard pressed to do anything, because my communication from face to face and personal with Katie is, I think, helpful to me and to the group. So, I guess what you're
I'm
saying.
bringing that up on behalf of Garrett Baxter, that's all.
thank you. Well, we can read your notes next week.
So can we just go back to the training? There's the town officer education conference
Oh, right,
that's coming
who's
up.
going?
And you had expressed interest in going, and
Yeah, I
you
didn't
gave me
get a chance
list.
to,
Gordon is going, Gordon and I are gonna go together, right?
yeah, if you will.
And just so the board's aware, I'm gonna try and get trained as much as I can on the whole Act 64, which deals with stormwater runoff. We're gonna be having to go through a whole permitting process, and I wanna be better able to. Because when it actually might hit, I don't know what Dan's timeline and plan is. And if there's
Would it be appropriate for Dan or someone amongst his crew to be a part of that discussion with you, or
Yeah,
add something like that?
And we're getting that training as well,
Gotcha. That
through
comes
like
from
road
another-
foreman meetings.
Gotcha.
So he's getting that through his channels where,
I do have some paperwork for you for that,
for,
from the Selectboard Institute,
okay.
yeah.
So, is anybody else gonna go to this workshop on the town officer's education?
No, I think they're both weekdays.
There's 3 offerings, and there's some of us going on the 13th,
Yeah,
so.
Gordon and I are going on the
Carpool.
13th, you're going on the 13th. Dick, are you gonna go?
Of course I am,
Are you gonna go by yourself?
of course I am. No, I think I gotta take
I'm not
that.
going.
I think Kathy got an appointment at Dartmouth that day, so, yeah, I'll be close by.
And I think some of the town office
Yeah.
staff do as well.
And just for new board members, a lot of times I'll do the training and then come back and sort of share the information, because I'm the one who most closely will have to work with it, so.
The next item on the agenda is discussion and updates. Shaun,
You got mine in?
I think you had,
I did, but I only do it if you feel as if I could present something quickly, and if it is something that you're interested in. It happens to be something I'm very interested in, and it does have to do with the town of Guilford, so.
so this
But it's
is,
up to you.
Is this on the town side or the school side?
It is the school side, but it does have big town implications.
Oh, it does.
Yeah. I could just give you an overview.
would you take like 5 minutes?
I'd not even.
Excellent, go
Okay.
for it.
Act 46 was passed in May. It became the law of the state of Vermont on July 1st. In November, there is a study committee that was developed in the WSESU, and it is to see how the implementation of Act 46 would take place in the district, which is Putney, Dummerston, Guilford, Vernon, and Brattleboro. I've been going to all of the study committee meetings, which is made up of individuals from all those 5 entities. And so I've been to 7 of the 11 meetings.
As a representative of.
No, as a citizen.
Interesting.
As a
I'm
citizen.
not a member of the study committee, as a
Okay.
citizen. I am a member of the Brattleboro Union High School
Right.
Board. So I'm very interested in it. And what's gonna happen is that the state put out Act 46. They also attached incentives to the act, so that if the districts do it in the first year, you get a 10-cent incentive, and it goes 10, 8, 6, 4, 2 for the incentive over 5 years. So the superintendent actually says there might be a vote prior to June 30th, which is when the first year will be gone. So if it happens before June 30th, 2016. And there are a couple of different paths. It would be either the accelerated path or something they call a MUD, which has to do with, it's just a different path of unification. So if that does come to fruition, that would mean that all 5 towns would have to vote on the same day, either yea or nay, to the acceptance of the Act 46, either the accelerated path or the MUD path or the side-by-side path, whatever it is. So every town in the district, all 5 towns, would vote at the school on the same day. And also on that same day, and this is why I think it's important for the select board to be thinking about, the representatives to the new district-wide board would also be elected. So those representatives would have to take out a petition, no more than 40 and no less than 30 prior to the vote. And there'd be 1 representative from each outlying town, probably, this is a little bit of flux, probably 3 from the town of Brattleboro, and it would be 2 representatives at large. So the representative at large could be from any town. So, and that's pretty much it. The Articles of Agreement are going to be worked out by the study committee, and then they have to go to the Agency of Education. So there's a lot that has to be done, but people are working on it really hard. So I thought it'd be good for the select board to know, just because it's going to affect Guilford. So if you have any questions.
We just don't know how yet.
Well, no, if something will happen, probably, whether it happens this year or next year, the legislation says that you have to change governance for school. So I did write an article for the Gazette, and that sort of outlines, you know, the reason why. So anyway, if you have any questions, I'd be happy to ask them, but that's basically my overview.
I will let you guys know that there was a meeting last Thursday. There is the subcommittee that's doing the stuff right now is developing, I believe, a plan or some type of negotiation, correct, if I'm not, they're setting goals in this, for this.
For Guilford?
Well, not only Guilford, all the outlying,
All the outlying.
all the schools. It's not just Guilford. So,
What they're trying to do is decide whether it is possible and
Right.
prudent to do a vote before June 30th.
right.
There's not very much time.
Essentially what's gonna happen is we've gotta set up for another town meeting. It's gonna be another,
Well, except it'll be the school, it'll be either from the central office. It won't have
Right.
anything to do with the town per se.
right, not
which
the
is
town, just
why I
the
was a
school.
little reluctant to talk about it in a select board meeting,
Yeah,
but I do think there's definitely overlap.
But it's
So I think-
Australian ballot vote.
it
It is
will be,
So why would the school need to set up for that?
Maybe at the
Because it is a town.
because it's a town,
So what, you could
Why?
hold it at the Grange?
will that hold, if you
If you
have
hold it.
300 people there, will that hold
But,
it?
but it's not a meeting,
Yeah,
it's
you
just a,
No,
vo-
I
it's
thought
just
it
a
was a
polling.
meeting.
You're right.
You're voting, right?
Oh, it's just a voting?
It's just you need
Oh.
you need a polling place is what you need,
Yes,
not a meeting.
yeah,
I thought there was, see,
That's my
that's,
one question is, so every town has to do their own vote.
yes.
And my second question was, if this all comes to a merger and, so voting will take place where?
That's a great question.
Well,
That's a
I think
good
it'll
That was
take
one of the
place
questions I
in
wanted to
every
ask.
town on the same day. So Putnam,
But
Emerson.
after,
but
after it
after
that-
forms, how does that
When you
voting
have-
take place?
When you have your committee, right? Is that
You mean
Yeah.
How about
the
the-
new district individual?
The district
Will it
meetings.
function
Okay, it would-
organizationally the same way as BOHS number 6?
Yes,
Okay,
Yes.
that was my
Yes.
question,
yes,
thank you.
yes.
essentially,
As a resident, I was
you
asking
lose
as a
it, you
resident.
lose say so.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Well, that wasn't
So,
clear during that
The
Act
reason
46
I
meeting
wanted
that I
to say
sat.
something is, I really feel as if it's important to, you know, disseminate as much information as quickly as possible. That's why,
Well, that's why your school board has been trying to get more and more people to be involved.
yeah, and Beth.
And Beth Bristol
Beth
is on the
Bristol is our
thing,
representative, and she's
but I know the
yes.
rest of the board members up there have been attending the meetings on a regular
Oh,
basis.
that's-
Oh, yeah, you bet your bippy it is.
Yeah.
Trust me, I hear all about it, Shaun.
Yeah.
Why do you think I'm bald?
Wanted to know about education.
Sean, thank you for
Thank you,
that.
Sean.
And thank you for the article that you wrote in the Gazette too, it was very helpful.
And I'll find out when the Guilford Gazette deadline is. If I can, I'll write another one that has to do, because if it does come to a vote as we get closer, I think it's more important
Yes.
for everybody.
I haven't heard that.
Any more discussion or updates? So the highway
Thanks, John.
thing,
Sure.
I'll call you again.
so Danny's not here tonight. The general update isn't, he's probably been.
I can tell you what they're doing. They're trying to fix roads. It's
Yeah.
a little muddy out there. There's some soft spots, there's some divots.
Wash out.
Stay off of Bonneville Road, especially on the Brattleboro side. It swallowed my truck.
They attempted to fix backside of Greener Hill, this one, and we gave up because they were breaking through.
Yeah, they was breaking through. I know they was working pretty hard on Oaks Corners on Sweets Pond Road because the bus is having a hard time. They're trying to keep the bus routes open, so,
So
I mean,
mud season is here.
mud season is upon us there, Miss Buckley.
Yeah, I know.
I think it was in the meeting that we had 3 weeks ago, in the minutes that we just approved, that Danny said, mud season isn't here yet, but it will be.
Yeah.
He was right. VTrans TA 60 annual financial report. I'm gonna ask Katie to talk about this because Danny's not here.
So every year we get a package from VTrans that we need to prepare in order for us to get our annual state aid to highway funding. We get about $140,000 each year for our class 1, 2, and 3. We don't have any class 1, but our class 2 and 3 roads here in Guilford to help offset our highway budget. So I sort of do the financial crunch to get the numbers ready. We meet with VTrans, they sort of review it and give us our blessing, and then we're approved to
Are
receive
they
funding.
coming down this year?
They are.
Okay.
So I have our financial form, which I've prepared the motion that will say that you certify that funds raised by municipal taxes are equivalent to or greater than the sum of at least $300 per mile for each class 1, 2, and 3 highway in the municipality. That's what you'll be supporting, and you're definitely gonna raise more than enough taxes to do that. And then the other item that I'm gonna ask you to certify is a certificate of compliance for town road and bridge standards and network inventory. It basically is saying that you have adopted road and bridge standards, which you did do in 2013. So I have a copy if, for anybody who wants to, and it says that we further certify that we have an up-to-date network and inventory of all of our town infrastructure, which we also have. So, I'd be
So,
looking for.
So moved.
Good. Second? Anybody
I
second?
can't remember all
I know,
that.
right?
Remember that document.
Any questions, any discussion?
Do we sign both of them, Katie?
Yeah, I'm actually gonna have you move them separately as well, just in case we were to have a FEMA event this year.
There's
We
one
would
thing
have that second one.
they go to that Better Road Standards, this Act 64, I believe it's the water bill we were talking about earlier.
Stormwater?
Yeah, Better Road Standards, Bridge Standards has a lot to do with that. If you have that, you're better off than if you don't have it, so.
Yeah, priority for.
So
correct.
you want me to move both of these separate?
Yes, so the first one you
Okay.
moved, right, and who's?
First one, Gabby
Gabby
second.
seconded.
Yeah, I got that.
And the second, all right, let me sign that one.
Okay, we're all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No.
Doesn't
Motion
matter where
passed.
we stand, sign. No? Okay.
And the second motion for the,
The second motion is I'd like to make the motion that we sign the certification of compliance for town and road and bridge standards inventory.
is there a second?
Second.
Gordon.
Get right into this.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Dick? Aye?
Oh, yes.
Thank you, sir.
Me,
Any opposed? None. Motion passed. The next item on the agenda is mitigation work on Stage Road. down by the bottom of, down by Green
Can I,
River.
you want me to cover that? Because I dealt with it with Irene and definitely, yeah.
You're gonna take
Yes.
this.
Okay.
Yes, go right ahead, start it.
Irene, when Irene came and visited us, a couple culverts plugged up on Green River Hill, and they went down and totally flooded Michael Knapp's garage and lawn area, filled in his pond, and he paid a fairly large amount of money to have his pond cleaned out and a diversion ditch put in. And it just happened again with this storm we had 2 weeks ago, where the same culvert's plugged up. And he's spending a lot of money again to clean the gravel out of the field, clean his pond out. And I think from talking to Danny, he feels that perhaps the town could or should pay for some of that work, and I don't disagree with that at all. I think that a percentage of that should be a burden on the town, because of the fact that the culvert's plugged up, but I mean, the same one's doing it twice. And Irene was down there with a little lawn tractor with a bucket about that way, trying to dig the gravel out of the way, and I said, wait a minute, no, I've got my tractor, and went down and diverted the water away from his garage for him at least, but so that's the nuts and bolts of that.
So,
Yeah, if you want to add to that, go ahead.
Danny said it's been twice, maybe 3 times.
Yeah.
That, and he's planning to put in bigger culverts in that area this summer, but the reason of the gravel dump on Michael Knapp's property is because the culverts failed. And so he was going to get an estimate from Michael about the cost, and I don't think he was able to get that today. So we don't have a motion to make, we just need to be prepared to act to help in this particular case. That's it. So.
Okay, I'm gonna be the devil advocate this time. Is this going to open something up later down the line where,
Good question.
okay, a road washes out, let's say Baker's Crossroads wash out, and it washes down onto somebody's property, and they want it cleaned up. Is that gonna make the town liable if we're gonna do this for one person? And I mean, Michael's a great person, don't get me wrong, I'm not.
It's a
I'm
great
just-
question.
We actually,
It's a very
yeah,
fair
we don't
As-
have the answer to that question, obviously, we can't, and we have to do some serious thinking about it. Because we've all,
Yeah.
Danny asked this question, I asked this question, you guys are asking the question, you asked the question, I think, I can't remember if you were here or not, but somebody did.
Yeah.
So yes, it is, we cannot set a precedent, but we are also in the situation of having this
Yep,
happen
I
more than
understand.
once.
Is it because the culverts need to be upsized? Like, what's the
It's
what's
one,
the root
it's
cause
that,
of
I
this?
think that's it,
Because they
and then
didn't wash
plus,
out, they got plugged. And is it,
I think a lot of it was from the heavy rain and the frost being on the ground.
The ice.
The ice and the frost, you know what I'm saying?
yeah,
The frost is in the ground, ice,
Sure.
it started melting, letting go, and it went down, it plugged the culvert up.
like, is there any mitigation work that we can do?
Actually, some of that paperwork I have for you would affect that.
Like maybe it's, rather than just replacing a culvert, maybe it's us looking at this whole stretch of roadway and rebuilding it in a way that is much smarter. That's, I just,
How many years have we talked about redoing that hill entirely?
every year that I've been here,
Bring it
after
up.
my first year,
Yeah.
because we throw a lot of money into that road
Shut the
every
bridge down,
year.
go, y'all belong to Halifax, y'all
I
belong to
mean,
Lyden, goodbye.
And I mean, there's sections of Green River Hill where you can't grade it any further because it's
Right,
ledge.
it's ledge.
You're down to
It's
ledge.
ledge.
I walked it yesterday and
Oh,
noticed all
Katie,
the
we
patches
know,
of it.
that's not the only road in
Yeah.
town that's like that.
Multiple roads
We need
down
to spend
there.
some money on that road. We do.
Okay.
So, I think what I'm hearing is we need to seriously consider the options and the ramifications.
Yeah, even though I made a positive statement,
No,
I agree with Troy.
Yes.
Yeah, no, and I'm not disagreeing with you
It's a tough
one bit, you know, it's a tough nut to crack here, you know, so.
Excess weight permits, ma'am?
Yes, there's two.
I would like to make the following motion that we let Camp Precast Concrete Products and Markowitz Excavating with the grant them excess weight permits with the following: stay off the roads during mud season, the dirt roads, and don't go across Green River Covered Bridge.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
I like when they get to the covered bridge, you can't go through anyway.
Well, I try and I don't get through.
Yeah.
I followed that tractor trailer truck over one day, and he been long, about 50 foot box, not back.
Warrants, are you doing warrants, Gabby?
Okay.
He down there, and he says,
I'd like to make a motion to pay the following warrants and payroll. Payroll for the week ending in February 28th, 2016, in the amount of $6,580.64. Payroll for the week ending in March 6th, 2016, in the amount of $6,368.40. Payroll for the week ending in March 13th, 2016, for the week in the amount of $6,101.89. Expense warrant number 1617 in the amount of $54,147.39, and expense warrant 17DT in the amount of $74 for a grand total of $73,272.32.
Is there
That one.
Second.
Thank you.
Did I just do
where's the sign page here?
Second one back.
Any discussion?
Yeah,
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
And I'll just say the major payouts in the warrants this week were for our liability insurance in the amount of $14,987.25. Our audit costs in the amount of $8,600, and our quarterly Wyndham Solid Waste Management payment in the amount of $7,326.74.
And in a related thing, I'd like to thank Katie for giving us the year-to-dates. And to note that we are 75% of the way through the year and slightly less than 75% through our budget.
Well
So I
done.
would say we are doing pretty well.
communication?
Would you launch into communications?
Be happy to.
And I have one.
So I've completed a municipal impact questionnaire for the Act 250 permit application that will be done for Black Barn Arts. They're gonna be coming, I think, to the next select board meeting to
Is
talk
that
to.
Daniel Cornwell?
It is the Daniel Corngood's project at 1250 Weatherhead Hollow Road,
Oh,
so right near the fairgrounds.
Mhm.
They are looking to, it's a proposed artist residency facility that will also offer space for community events and activities such as classics, summer camps, weddings, performances, rehearsals, martial arts, and other physical fitness activities. So they're doing a bunch of work there. They need an Act 250 permit. They've engaged a consultant to help them put together their Act 250 permit. And so I completed the municipal impact questionnaire, which is really, if you want to pass a motion for it, it's really just saying that it's not gonna put any undue burden on any of the town's resources. We don't need additional fire protection or police or rescue or any of that sort of stuff. It's pretty low impact on the town. The one thing that I did ask the project about was, if they would consider improved pedestrian access, because they have dorms on one side of their road and their activities on the other, and that it could be dangerous for people crossing the street there. So I sort of threw that out to them. That was the only thing that I could think of that, otherwise it looks like a pretty cool addition to Guilford, so. But they'll be coming to the next select board meeting to talk to everybody and bring you up to date on where they stand with that. I got an email from Matt Mann about the pre-candidate town highway bridge list. We submit each year bridges that should be included on this list. I've spoken with Dan about it, and we're gonna get together.
62 is on, and, the other one I moved up. Fitchburg, 60 is moved up to the Wyndham Regional. So 60 and 62.
Fitchburg?
Yeah, Fitchburg.
What, would you say what you
Okay.
mean?
Wyndham Regional has, VTrans goes through and rates the bridges, and the email Katie got was for us to submit the bridges we thought were bad. And also there's a Wyndham Regional list that they put up to the top. So what we did tonight, we took actually 64 and 55 off because they're done.
There.
And that's on the VTrans list, Hale Road bridges.
And we is Danny and you?
When they reasonable.
Oh,
I talked to
okay,
Danny
I
before I
gotcha.
went, and Danny and I talked before I went, so, yeah. And 60 is Fitzbridge, which has been on the list for quite a while, and it got moved up to a top of priority. It's number
Oh.
6 on the list now, I think.
Even though it doesn't service, I mean, when you look at the
30
qualitative-
cars a day, and yeah, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, but the studio up there, I think, has a bearing on that, and 62 is the one down by Jelly Mill.
that would make sense.
Yeah.
Oh, Green Riverside.
And that's way on the bottom of the list.
Just
but,
dumping
yeah,
money on
yeah,
that side of the river.
So what was Bridge 55?
55 was the last one on Hale Road.
Oh.
64 was the first one, the second one on Hale Road by the parsonage.
Oh, well, there's a little more work to do on that last bridge.
I
Is
thought
what you're-
65 was the last bridge on Hale Road, not 55.
It's 65.
65 was the last.
Anyway, they're all done up there. Yeah, they're all, yeah, whatever ones they are, they're all done.
Because
64 is-
55 says it's over Heinsberg Brook.
Yeah,
That's gotta be,
Is that?
that's gotta be Hale Road, wouldn't
That's
you
it?
think?
yeah, it's Hale Road, yeah.
That's Hale Road.
So that must be that last
Okay.
one.
Yeah. One on Renault is doing now. No, he's not doing it now, but he's
Right, he's in
pre-
that's
pre-
60,
that's
well, that's
64.
64.
Yeah, he's precasting it, yeah.
Yeah.
So Katie, do we need a motion or are we just?
No, that was
Okay.
just information.
Thank you.
But it sounds like Dick already
Yep.
took care of that.
Okay. Yes, sorry, keep
The
going.
last page, I think.
Almost quite.
Yeah.
Almost that configured.
We got our annual letter from Franklin Land Trust announcing the D2 R2 race. I had reached out to them
Oh, okay.
to let them know that the bridge was gonna be closed, but apparently the night that you awarded the contract to Wright, Addison had told them and asked them to contact the contractor, and now that they're making arrangements with our contractor, who we have not actually
Have we
engaged
contacted our
with yet.
contractor yet?
Yeah. So we're gonna have to have a little conversation with our contractor and say, we're your client.
Is that costing us money? I mean, is that coming out of our budget?
Well, that's,
Like a
here's where the
discussion
conflict is
What-
gonna come,
what's-
is that the contractor's saying, sure, we probably can provide pedestrian access for you, but we haven't, so we're gonna have to have further conversations with this.
Can we ask,
Yeah, we're
can
gonna
we ask the, I'm
realize.
saying R2D2, but,
Yeah, I know, I do.
can we ask them to please go through us?
Yeah, we're gonna have a conversation with the
And not
contractor and
contact-
with the
okay.
representative of this
Okay.
and say, you know what, in the future, can you deal directly with the town and we'll get answers for you.
Yes.
What
Perfect.
did we do with last year?
It was open
It was
last year.
open last
Yeah,
year, the
we-
year before it was closed, and Michael Knapp in his field held lunch there. And then on the other side of the bridge, the Minot's in the park down there had lunch on that side, so it was
Okay,
sort of
yeah,
broken
yeah,
up.
yeah, I
And it
remember.
worked, it worked. It was
Oh, they did
inconvenient,
work.
but it worked. So, and then there's one last communication item that Sheila will read.
So we have a note from Anne to the Guilford Selectboard. Dear friends, welcome Gordon. The rest of you characters, I wanted to express my sincere and deeply felt thanks for your warm send-off of me as I left the board. I have truly enjoyed the camaraderie and good work we have tackled together. Good luck as you move forward and continue to put Guilford's agenda first. Many thanks, Anne. I don't think we have an executive session before we move to adjourn the meeting. I'm gonna be on vacation from March 23rd to April 7th, so I will miss the 3/28 meeting. And Katie will be on vacation.
You both threw me under the bus tonight.
Katie will be on vacation sometime during that time.
Next week. I will be gone from Friday and return on Monday the 28th, which is our select board meeting. So that one's gonna be tricky.
We can squeak by.
So the,
Troy's
probably
got
that meeting will be a very short meeting and make up for the fact that we went for an hour and 45 minutes tonight, which isn't bad considering the aggressive agenda that we had.
Who's setting the agenda for that meeting that you're
Oh, I will be.
So make sure you're on the hook for something.
Oh, I'm the admiral of the ship. You will
Baby.
flog
Are
to
we
Yeah,
going
the
death.
ship's
down
driving
as
this
Titanic?
Look at the blanket. I was gonna say, I'll try and have everything.
He's getting
It's
excited.
just gonna be a highway update.
I have a power trip, man. It's Warren's highway update, we're out of here.
You actually,
I'll have to beat Dick's 15
Sorry, we're
minute
still
meeting.
on camera. We have not adjourned this meeting.
Make the motion to adjourn.
Thank you. Any second?
Second?
Any, all in favor? Not Katie, get me.
Aye.
Aye.
I
Any
guess I'm-
opposed?
yeah. Oh, never mind, thank you.
Thank you.